Hi guys. So this video is an interview from a family member, my sister Nikki. She's in the background trying not to laugh a bit. And so I'm just gonna ask her quick questions on about like her side of, well, not really side, but view, so to speak, on living with someone who's mentally ill. Not heavy questions, just light one, like in general. So I don't know how to like show her face or anything, but she'll let me anyways. So you'll hear her voice. I hope if it works. So, Nikki.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is my sister Nikki. Well, I can't see her, but you can hear her. Okay, Nikki. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Okay.
Okay. When. Okay, should wrote these down. Okay, what's the hardest thing about living with someone who is mentally ill as like a child?
Comprehending it in a normal mind.
Can you explain that just quickly?
It's hard um, to think of them and think normally and rationalize normally because their brains do not rationalize normally. So they would not function in the normal way that you may function. And so it's hard for a person to understand where they're coming from and relate to them.
So it's kind of like hard to put yourselves in their shoes, right?
Exactly.
Know what they're thinking. Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Because I guess, like, people always tell me, like, my normal is in normal in like, a general sense.
Yeah.
Is there anything, like, and be totally honest, it's not going to affect me, it's just, like, for knowledge. Is there anything that's really, like, what's the most annoying part?
The most annoying part would probably have to be the way in which they tend to communicate sometimes.
So, like, the extremes and things?
So, like, you may, if you had a problem between somebody, you may go up to them and say, hey, let's deal with this. But somebody who has mental illness may not be able to do that. They have to deal with it at that moment instead of waiting. And they'll deal with it whichever way they know how. So if it means going to other people or whatnot, and it may come across to others as rude, but in their minds, it works for them.
Thanks for being honest. Okay. Just so everybody knows, my disorder is, I think I've said this before, is borderline personality disorder, along with a little side dish of OCD, among other little things. So a part of borderline is obviously, a lot of you know, is unstable interpersonal relationships, which is described pretty well with what Nikki just said. Is like, I get paranoid and stuff and can't communicate properly. Enough. Fair enough, Nick?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. What's the scariest moment that you've had?
I think the scariest moment in
With
general.
with the mental illness, like, related to, I guess in my whole life is, but just, like my actions and stuff, I guess.
Generally, I think the scariest part is not knowing if that person will be there for the future. Like, basically, with mental illness, you're taking it 1 hour, 1 day at a time.
Yes.
You can't, it's hard to plan years in advance because you don't know and you want them to be there, but you don't know for sure if they ever will.
So basically, like the suicide risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm obviously my cutter by textbook or anything. Um, is there any like boundaries or anything that I crossed ever? Like showing you a cut that seemed normal for me, but was like weird for you, or anything like that that made you uncomfortable about, or scared or whatever about the self harm. Besides the
Well,
cut.
I guess before I knew about what was really going on, I was just a kid. So I felt like, what the hell is she doing? Why is she doing that to herself? Like, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So that scared me because I was a kid. But seeing it now, I understand that cutting for you and other people is similar to crying or screaming or any relief of pain.
Yeah. So now, out of like, getting it out, so to speak. Yeah. You could be a psych major, miss.
Pardon?
You could be a psych major. Okay, it's a couple more questions and we'll finish it. How about like your friends? Was it awkward talk like when they didn't like bringing me up or anything like that? If they asked a
Well,
question.
when I was younger, I was embarrassed because everybody has their own norm, and in our family, this is a norm. Like, this is Marissa, we love her, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
But to other people, it was like our friends. It was embarrassing because you didn't know how they were going to react to her or say about her. So you were almost sheltering her and protecting her around your friends and trying to be there, but also be with your friends. So it was a difficult place, but we all kind of learned where to go with it.
That's pretty good. So basically, it's just you didn't know how others would react, but you
yeah.
were.
And like when we all got older, a lot of our friends understood somewhat where you were coming from, so they knew what to expect and they knew how to act.
So basically, you're pretty, like, you're sensitized to it, like.
Yeah.
You got used to it.
Exactly.
Is there still like any moments like now that you are used to it in a way that I do things that still shock you or like that sort of shock value or what the fuck kind of reaction or like extreme more worry or whatever, confusion, anything like that?
We did have an incident 2 weeks ago with that. Well, where I felt like this illness took me to a whole nother level of understanding, by communication, by relation. So I was hurt by this certain incident, but after I talked it out and understood it more, I came to terms with understanding that this is why and this is how and that kind of thing.
So basically, like back to the interpersonal relationships, like my ability is fairly poor to deal with them. So and I know what you're talking about. We had some arguments, we'll say, and they kind of, instead of going to people, I tend to just like cut them out completely. So I guess that can get a little confusing. I was gonna ask something else. I complain a lot about the police coming to my house. When you heard that I got pepper sprayed, what went through your mind? What did you first think that I did to get that? Before you heard the story.
First thing I thought was, how stupid is she?
Fair enough.
And then the second thing I thought was, well, what caused that situation? How did you get to that point?
Yeah.
And why did it escalate?
Yeah. I'm not good with rules and
authority. And it was the same thing with high school when you got carried out in an ambulance, and it
My
was
first
the
suicide attempt, yes.
same thing at home. Like we all kind of thought, like, what the frick is going on? Like, how stupid is she? But that was before we understood.
Alright, okay, we're running out of time, so last question. Oh, maybe not. Just reset. Last question. Or is there anything. More time than I thought we had. Anyways, is there anything else with it? Like, when you found out. What about when I was at the psych ward? Remember that one time I was there for 2.5 months?
Yeah.
As like a normal person, I hate that word, but not mentally ill person, what is your impression of the psych ward and the way it's run?
Well, I hate the psych ward. Like, it freaks me out, and I know I'm not going to.
That's
It
all
freaks me out.
Freaks me out too.
I thought, it's weird to say, but I thought Marissa was one of the normal of the psychos in there. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I was yeah.
You were
The
like
normal of the crazies.
You were the least crazy.
Although I did have fits.
Yeah,
Like
you did have,
escaping
and there was like sometimes when you were in there that I'd be like, why are you doing that? Like, do you want to be in here more? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, alright. I think I know what you're talking about. Remember? I remember that when I was in there for like 2.5 months straight, and I was in the camera room, and I started freaking out.
I felt like you were just doing it because you were in that room and you wanted the attention, you wanted the shock factor, because you were very much like that. You liked the shock factor.
Yeah. It's the extreme thing. Like, I'm an extreme person, I think. Which is part of illness, I guess. Okay. So, okay, okay, so last question then. We'll end it kind of cool. What is, if you have, like, your knowledge and experience of living with someone who's mentally ill, what could you tell other families, like, or other sisters, advice or anything?
I would say that you need to, if there's ever a conflict between you and that person, you need to take a step back, relax, and try to address the situation in a way that they can comprehend in their mind, not a way that you can comprehend in your mind. You have to simplify it and tell them how you feel and how it affects you and what they're doing to you. So if they're pushing you away and you don't want them to push you away, you tell them, you're pushing me away, you're hurting my feelings, I don't feel good about this. So you really have to tell them how you feel so that they understand, because they're not good with hints or that kind of thing. You need to be straight up and frank and direct.
Yeah, I totally agree. Alright, well, thank you, Nikki, for your input. And anyone who has any questions about this video, please feel free to message me or leave comments. Nice ones. Not that you guys haven't really left anything bad, so it's good so far. Also, a reminder that the new YouTube channel, Venture Heart Out, is now up and running. And so yeah, just feel free. I put one video on there and I put a video response. For now, just put video responses. And I'll figure out how to make it so that you guys can add your videos normally without doing the video response. But for now, I'll just do that. Okay, take care, guys.